Hi, this is Dr. Maya Shetreat, and I'm here from the Terrain Institute to do a little bit of a deep dive into Virgo season, and particularly the way we can really engage with Virgo's gifts and energy right now. And I sometimes think Virgos don't get the glory they deserve, and maybe it's partly because Mercury rules Virgo, and Mercury has this trickster energy, and we'll get to the gifts of that actually in a little bit. But a lot of the typical things people say when they talk about Virgos is they're meticulous, they're particular, they're picky, they're anxious, and they're kind of like, what time will we be leaving? Are you going to be on time? And always trying to kind of wrangle answers and commitments out of us. And sometimes at the same time being a little bit, sketchy in terms of their own ways and means and ends and commitments. So the thing is that there is a lot more to Virgo than this. So what does Virgo season offer? A lot. So my son is a Virgo, and he's not stereotypically the super meticulous type or the neat freak type. Actually, I would not mind if he was a little more of a neat freak. But he has some particular areas where he's incredibly meticulous and detail-oriented and highly accurate. So he can spot wild birds, like eagles, hawks, owls, osprey, wherever we are, he'll say, oh, I saw an eagle. And I used to think that he was just kind of making it up because I didn't see them at first, but he is wildly accurate at that. And he's actually the only one of all of us in my family who has perfect vision and really uses it. He's also a magician. So he's incredible at card tricks, and he actually even teaches kids how to do these magic tricks, these card tricks. I love talking about magic, not card tricks, but more this sort of dive into the deep unknown. And maybe I'll do some videos on that in the future. But really, the thing that this magician energy really teaches with card tricks and the sleight of hand is this key part of the mercurial nature of Virgo. It's about questioning things, rethinking things, considering and reconsidering again what you think you know. And those moments, right? It's the moment when you're holding this card and then suddenly he's holding the card and you're like, wait, I thought I had that card. And you're questioning reality and you're kind of going back in your head and saying, wait, I thought this, but maybe I was wrong. It's really important to do that periodically. And right now we're very much in this time of asking these questions. We're asking the questions of education, the education system, as so many kids are not in the education system as they usually are. We're kind of asking, well, what should education look like? And is this really how I want my kid to learn? And is this the best way for things to happen? And, maybe they don't need to be in this kind of regimented environment. Maybe they need to do something a little differently than we've thought all this time. Government, we're questioning government. We're questioning how government's doing things. We're questioning whether the government has our best interests in mind. Health and science, right? I mean, never has there been a time where physicians and scientists have been so deeply brought into question, and people are saying, well, what do they believe and what's their bias, and asking these questions in really probing and meticulous ways, right? So here we are learning this kind of we're in this Virgoan energy, this magician energy, where we're questioning, we're rethinking, we're considering, we're reconsidering. And this is a very mercurial energy. Mercury is double-bodied in ancient astrology, so it embodies both male and female. Mercury is comfortable both in a day and a night chart. So some planets are more comfortable in the night chart, some more in the day chart if you're born in the day. Mercury is fine day and night, male and female. These double-bodied signs also have some of that back and forth energy. Not sure if you're going this way or that way, or both ways. So there's a lot of movement. There's a lot of motion in this sign and in this period. And it's really important that Mercury does have this duality, and does have this trickster energy. And Mercury as the ruler of Virgo means we're going to be in a real energy of Mercury right now. And Mercury plays tricks on us. Mercury is the trickster. And partly that's a form of sacred play, right? There's this sense of bringing a lightness to the heaviness of dark times, with even more darkness coming, right, as we're going into fall and winter. But there's also a way that these little tricks are using sacred play as a way of getting closer to the truth. And the truth is something which is not necessarily illuminated at first. It has to be unearthed, right? So we have to go into this darkness in order to unearth and reveal the truth. And that is all part of that energy of questioning and reconsidering and looking again and taking another look, and being kind of meticulous in doing that. While Gemini, which is the more masculine sign ruled by Mercury, is very young, it's very much about an active search for knowledge, taking in information, as much information as you can, and struggling to really grasp light. Virgo is, in this feminine aspect of Mercury, is much more receptive and ready to dive into mystery and embrace the unknown. And I think is more willing to be in this dance of uncertainty and surrender. This is at least part of what Virgo can master in this lifetime. And the rest of us can really practice during this Virgo period. And even more so depending on where Virgo is in your natal chart, if it's in a prominent spot. Virgo knows that we can't stay at the surface just because we're afraid of what might be beneath. But of course, at the same time, this can really cause anxiety and a sense of perfectionism, right? Because it's challenging for Virgo to be preparing to dive into the unknown, right? It's this sort of, we're in the last period of light before we're diving into the darkness of autumn and winter. And it's in Virgo's nature to want to be perfectly prepared. And there may not be any such thing as being perfectly prepared. It's harvest season right now here in New York, and I forage and grow food and herbs in my garden. And so for anybody who gardens or forages, there can be this tremendous amount of preparation and work that you put in. You've been working for this all through the season, or you're waiting for these particular mushrooms to grow at this particular time. And there's only going to be a very brief time. This whole season you've been working or waiting or looking. And something in there, you really have to surrender, right? You can't always time exactly when things are going to reach fruition. Or how they're going to manifest. There can be weather issues. You can be asking, like, what's going to be ready before the frost? Or do I pick this watermelon now? Which is a question I was just asking yesterday. I'm not 100% sure it's ready, but I'm risking the insects or critters or cooler weather hitting and ruining the watermelon before that happens. So it's really challenging to get the timing right. And there's a dance between that perfectionism, between trying to do it just right, so that we can get the most out of the work we've put in, and that surrender to what nature, what weather, what bugs and animals and so on decide to bring our way in this process. Okay, and so, and that's the human condition, right? We want to be well prepared, but we cannot be perfectly prepared for surrender. We can take certain steps we think we need. And I think that is important. And I'll talk more about that in a little bit, but we also have to trust the process. And we need to really, in that process, trusting the process sounds really kind kind of nice, but also like, what the hell does that mean? And I think part of what that means is that we have to offer ourselves and perhaps others a lot of grace and compassion as we go. That is a big part of trusting the process, is exactly the opposite of all this perfectionism, exactly the opposite of trying to like get it all right and have all your ducks in a row and do everything perfectly. Because of course we know that, you know, we make plans and God laughs, right? That is a saying. And it's, we can do all these meticulous things and then we have to let go. And that's kind of a dual nature also of Virgo, is that that sense of meticulousness with that surrender. Mercury, of course, is also a guide, right? So Mercury was actually a guide that took people down to the underworld after they died. And so there's this sense with Mercury of us being taken somewhere, whether it's on the path we think we need to be on, or actually tricking us and taking us off the path. Ultimately, so that we can find the right path for us, or appreciate the path that we're on, or learn something really, really important about the journey. At the same time, also understanding that this journey is uniquely ours and not for someone else to dictate to us. So part of what Mercury is doing is kind of guiding us, drawing us along, and revealing the authentic way for us, which may or may not feel like the authentic right way, but it's taking us there, right? No matter what's happening, how intense events might be, how chaotic, we have to kind of trust that journey. We have to say, you know what, this is somewhere that I need to go to learn the things that I need to know, to reveal the things that I need to have revealed to me. And when those periods are hard or challenging or confusing, we can misunderstand them as thinking we're not on the right path. But that's going back to that grace and compassion, that we are actually exactly where we need to be to understand what our next best steps are. One of my teachers, Tirona Lodog, told me that she once said to her grandmother, "I feel like I'm off my path." And her grandmother said to her, "There's no such thing as being off your path. You're always on your path." And I love that. It's such a beautiful teaching. It's so filled with grace. It's so filled with compassion. And what if we could really do that for ourselves? This beautiful teaching, it's so perfect for a discussion about this Mercury ruled sign, and for Virgo in particular, because we have to really remember when there's chaos and implosion that we can make order of that. But we have to start by being present to it, experiencing it, taking it in, and understanding that's the journey we're on. And that we have to learn from it. Most importantly, we have to learn about ourselves. And it's those challenging periods when we feel confused, when we feel like we're in chaos, we feel like we're off our paths perhaps, that we really learn so much about ourselves. And that is treasure. You know, we bring back this treasure from these uncertain, confusing times, kind of like the time many of us are in right now. And the other piece of this is that Virgo is an earth sign. So this won't just be existential or esoteric gifts. She's very practical. So this is about making practical preparations and getting practical lessons and actions and teachings from Virgo season. So the practical preparations, if you consider again Virgo being harvest time, so we're gathering all the harvest, we're preparing and preserving food and hunkering down for whatever's to come, you know, as the darker months come. And at the same time, it's also about these practical lessons, right? These lessons about ourselves, the people around us, how to be in a better relationship with Mother Earth, how to cultivate our terrain in the unique ways that are authentic for us. And I want to just mention here that I actually created a Building a Healthy Terrain Summit as a way to prepare and cultivate each of our personal and collective terrains as well, physically, emotionally, spiritually, ecologically, because it's not the same for every person. We have to curate and cultivate a particular and unique terrain for each of us. So I asked 35 experts from health science, the arts, activists, to bring their tremendous wisdom and experience and share that so that each of us could have ideas and inspiration for how to cultivate a healthy terrain and really to have practical advice to prepare for the coming months. And I think it's really perfect for Virgo season, and the link to register is below. So with all of this said, Virgo is, yes, ordered, meticulous, has a purpose in mind, and has the ability to complete tasks. What you must remember is the tasks that you may choose or expect to be focused on may not be the ones that actually end up getting your attention or being completed. Okay, so we have to feel into that mutable nature of Virgo, where we don't always get to choose what we're going to accomplish. We think we want to accomplish this one thing, and then I think we have to let go of the how. So the important thing is preparation pays off. The practical lessons will come. You will get that earthy, practical, thing that you can hold on to in all of this. But you have to be unattached to exactly how it's going to happen. So what can you do right now? The biggest thing, right, we're doing the preparing. So you're thinking about, making sure that you have the things you need to take care of yourself. Physical, emotional, and spiritual self-care. Doing your best to eat well, drink water, sleep, move your body, breathe. Emotionally, to be present to your emotions, let them move through you without being too attached to them or holding them too tightly, and let yourself just laugh or cry or, be angry, and let that just move, right? Like, don't get stuck in it. And then to spiritually care for yourself, meditation or prayer or singing or chanting or ecstatic dance or being in nature, or being just in gratitude, and try to do each of these things, really be conscious, and prioritize something, or some things that are physically, emotionally, and spiritually nourishing to your terrain each day. And yes, so you have to do these things so you have the energy to take care of the details, and to prepare yourself for this journey into the unknown, which is what's coming, because we're descending into this darker, colder period of the year, where things are more inward and things are deeper down, and life kind of goes what appears to be dormant but is actually very active underneath the surface, right? In the soil, you have a lot of activity even when things appear to be dead above ground. And so this is this preparation that we're doing so we can accomplish and achieve what we're being called to do on a material level and on a spiritual level. And to kind of come full circle, if you think about the Magician card in tarot, it's very closely related to Mercury and really to Virgo, right? This idea of converting energy into matter, or making the mystery and the unknown practical, visible in some way. Typically, if the magician shows up in a tarot spread, it indicates talents and capabilities and resources that are available to you, perhaps in the ether, but are available to you to manifest and to utilize and to then succeed with. So there is this kind of part of this preparation is kind of it's like an activation energy that you're building up, doing this self-care, doing all this preparation, ultimately for you to be able to dive fully into your potential, not to hold back, not to be small, and to allow for this transformation into the next version of you, into the next version of society, into this next version of the world. And not just to be in a place of allowing this transformation, but to be co-creating it, to be something worthy of all of us. And something that is really a beautiful union of the material and the spiritual. So bringing together that sense of receptivity and mystery and surrender at the same time, to be practical, you know, things that we can hold on to, and structures in our life, you know, so making sense of the mystery in a way. So I can't think of anything that we need more right now than to really engage with a lot of this energy of Virgo season. So I hope you enjoyed this. And again, I want to remind you that now is the time to start registering for the Building a Healthy Terrain Summit, where you're going to just learn more practical ways to craft and cultivate your own healthy terrain, physically, emotionally, spiritually, ecologically, with 35 amazing experts, and just in time for Virgo season. So be sure to click on that link below, and of course, subscribe to the channel. And I'll be putting out another video soon on what's coming for the fall.